right? Right. So this is a very common topic, isn't it true? And the thing about this, as in Salah, as in Tawheed, right? People are quite simplistic in their understanding. Like as I said last time, Tawheed, what is Tawheed? Or oneness of God, full stop, that's it, right? It has so many layers, and same thing as Shirk, isn't it true, right? Um, and this is something in which, not sure why, so many countries, including, of course, my side of the world, Indonesia, Malaysia, right, are committing things that are so unspeakable. And yet, subhanallah, right, they are praying perhaps 5 times a day, of course, right? And yet they say, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Only to you we worship and only to you we seek help, right? But the amount of things that people do, is unbelievable, right? In terms of, okay, so for example, right, so we have how many billion? We have 1.8 billion people in the world, and despite the fact, I'm sure, right, well, I'm not sure, of course, that a lot, or at least majority of people, at least 50%, I'm sure, right, 50 or 60% at least, right, I'm sure they know that the worst sin in Islam, the worst, nothing can be worse than any sin, is shirk, of course. But the amount of shirk committed, right, amongst the Muslims in Muslim countries are, subhanallah, right, is uncountable, right? So, for example, let's talk about shrines, right? And as I said before, like one of my neighbors is Bangladeshi. He said that in his village, every village has 3 shrines, right? Of course, the makers of the shrine will make money of it, right? So every time they want to go to do this, I don't know, offerings or prayer, that they would have to pay some money and all this, right? When I myself went to not Syria, I went to Palestine, Jordan, right, for holidays, to visit the, of course, Masjid Al-Aqsa, right? No, now this Salahuddin, Salahuddin Ayyubi, right? He has perhaps this good intention, right, to remind people about the prophets, right? So he built shrines, and a lot of people, and I saw it, right, when they make dua, they make dua to the prophets at the shrines, right? And I even saw coins being thrown, just like people would throw coins in the fountains in Rome, isn't it, for good luck? And these people were also throwing coins, right, in order to, I don't know, obtain some blessings, whatever, right? So this is it, right? So this is quite common, right, in terms of in some Muslim countries, and I'm sure Morocco is not exceptional. I think there was a documentary, isn't it true, right, of some of these. That was about maybe 10 years back or 7 years back. These Muslims from different different countries, right? They gathered in Morocco. Some people are not practicing, some people are practicing. One of them was, every night she would write a letter to Allah. She never prayed, right? She write a letter to Allah. Dear God, something like that, right? So of course, right, they went to these things, and there was a argument regarding. They went to some mountains in Morocco for spiritual guidance or whatever it is, right? So all these are shirk, right? And cultural ceremonies, right? For example, in my side of the world, you have to remember that in my side of the world, prior to Islam, they were all Hindus, right? And I'm sure in Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, right, are similar, right? So practices such as weddings, right? You need to step on something for good luck. You need to eat something for blessings, whatever it is, subhanallah, right? So, and other rituals, for example, sacrificing an animal, right? In Indonesia, for example, if I can remember, when the mountain, the volcano erupted in Indonesia, the Sultan in one of the cities say, okay, sacrifice a sheep, throw the sheep into the volcano, subhanallah, right? And a lot of people died in the eruptions. Okay, of course the common ones you will see in Turkey, in Albania, and all this, right? Where people will wear amulets, and they have the eye and all. So all these are forms of shirk. We're going to discuss which is major, which is minor, and this is quite important to understand. I mean, some people say, oh, it's okay, it's a minor shirk. It's not okay. Shirk is shirk, right? Because once a person dies in shirk, that's it. Hellfire. So it's matter whether you be saved or not. Isn't it true? Right? Even a single, if you don't believe, right now, go to light up a candle, right? Put your hand on the candle. Can you stand for a few seconds? No, of course not. Right? And the hellfire, how many times worse than the fire on the earth? Anybody? How many times hotter? The hellfire. Anybody? The heat of the hellfire is how many times hotter than the heat on the fire in the earth? Does anybody know? I think at least 70 times.
70.
Yeah, 17 times. 70 times. Right? So even this was what we discussed in our tafsir class, right? That the Jews were saying, oh, we're only going to be in hellfire for a few days, right? After that, the Muslims can take over, right? I mean, this is what they say, right? That's why Allah scolded them. Where is this agreement you have with Allah that you're going to be in hellfire for only a few days? Okay. So this is important, right? A simple rule of thumb of major shirk and minor shirk is that, well, those who is committing major shirk, we're going to mention what is major shirk, right? They will be out of the fold of Islam, right? So this is quite tricky, isn't it true, right? Because quite a lot of people who are Shia, right? They believe that Ali. If you heard the adhan, right? They put the Ali as in the adhan, right? They have the Ayatollah, how they worship and revere them, all this, the imams who seen the unseen and all this. It is quite tricky because then if a person is out of the fold of Islam by committing major shirk, that made the food not halal, isn't it true? Do you agree?
Yes.
Right? In general, of course, I'm not assuming everybody is like that. I mean, same thing as the so-called Sunnis, right? Not all Sunnis are what do you call it? Of this, some of them, they're just practicing just for the sake of practicing all this. Right? But in Shia in general, we understood how much their imams were revered, right? They have, it's like the Catholics of the Muslim world, right? We have the hierarchy of the imams and all this, right? So we have to be very careful when we go to these countries, right? Where the majority were Shias, for example, in Lebanon, in Iran and all this. So you do be careful with what you eat, because once you're out of the fold of Islam, literally, I mean, Islamically, you're not supposed to be even buried within among the Muslims, isn't it true, right? You're not even supposed to do the janazah prayer. Do you agree? Right? So there's a lot of things that we're going to discuss later, inshallah. Right? So literally, shirk means a partnership or sharing or associating. Yep, in simple terms, in Islamic terminology, it is something that you hold equal with Allah in terms of many things, in terms of ability to provide. And this is, subhanallah, brothers, you have to be very careful. That's why I said this studying of or discussing of shirk must be very detailed, right? Even for me, right? I mean, I do have a lot of non-Muslim clients as a solicitor, right? Whenever they said to me, oh, thank you, because of you, right, I was able to get my visa, or because of you, I was able to stay in this country because of my human rights and all this, I will always say, no. We thank God first. And this is quite important, even though we are dealing with non-Muslims, right, brothers. We have Islam is a way of life. The deen is a way of life. It's not just about praying. It's not just about fasting, right? It's how we deal with people. And this, we need to take it very seriously, right? Those of you who may be in the medical field and all this, right? If the doctor will come, if your patient will come to you and say, "Oh, thank you, if not because of you, if because of you, I'm not feeling much better." And subhanallah, this, brothers, as a medical profession, you need to correct whether this person is a Muslim, non-Muslim. You must correct them, isn't it true? Because if you say, yeah, it's correct, right? Then you actually yourself are committing shirk, isn't it true? You agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Questions?
I just got one question. You know, say
This is
you're
very
wearing, say if you're wearing an amulet
Yes.
and you didn't know that it was like shirk,
Yes.
but then you found out and you
Yes.
like took it off and everything,
Yeah.
and you repented, yeah, like is Allah, yeah, he'll still forgive you, right?
Well, it depends on. Okay, so let's talk about major and minor shirk, all right? Is amulet a major or minor shirk?
I'm sure it's major because it comes under black magic, doesn't it?
No, you have to be careful, right? Because you can't you need to know what is major or minor. It is a person. It's not black magic. It's just that you rely on these verses which somebody put on you, or your mother put on you, or your grandmother put on you, right? This will protect you, right? So the same as you have this eye which you bought. I mean, in my poster, right? Put these eyes you bought in Turkey or Albania and all this to protect you, and all this put it in the house and protect you, right? Now, in general, what makes a shirk? Okay, so first of all, let's define shirk, right? Shirk is defined as something which associate equal with Allah. Who protects? Not these things, Allah, isn't it true? Right? So, and then we would define shirk. First of all, there are two kinds of classifications of shirk, right? One of them is in accordance to your tawheed, right? So we have tawheed ar-rububiyah. What does it mean? Oneness of Rob. That means oneness of brothers. Rob means
Lord.
Maintainer, creator, sustainer.
creator, maintainer, sustainer, the one who guides, the one who protects. All this is Rob, and we must understand this first, right? So if I were to say to my boss, right? Oh, thank you, because of you, right? I'm able to provide for my family. Is this shirk?
You're making him the Rabb.
But this is how people use it all the time. Is it true? I mean, and this is where, honestly, brothers, on the day of judgment, can I give an excuse to Allah? Oh, Allah, I didn't know it's shirk. Can I?
No.
No, I can't.
Wallet.
So this is how people are continuously being unfair to Allah, because it is only Allah who provides, right? Allah is Ar-Razaq, Allah is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, all these beautiful names. Sorry, questions, Akram?
Yeah, I have a very controversial question.
Is it related to the topic?
Yeah, it is very related. So there was this video, like I think like maybe 2 years ago, about the brother who was talking about pork is like halal. Do you remember him?
Yes, I can remember.
So like he made a video before and he said nak is haram.
Yeah.
Because it links to shirk.
Nike. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you believe it?
No.
Why
It's
not?
how it's perceived to be. Is it how it's perceived to be, right? You cannot have everything haram and if it's not haram. Personally, I'm not inclined to that. I mean, and this shirk, brothers, it must be more obvious than that. You know, and this is very important to understand this, right? So on the basis that okay, talking about my boss again, for example, right? It's okay to thank him, yeah, but you must still say Alhamdulillah. Isn't it true? Right? Thanking a person is no problem, but you cannot say because of you, right? I'm able to have this. Because of you, my illness is cured. Because of you, right? I'm able to pay my loans and all this. And that itself, a lot of people are using this unknowingly. Now this is different from Nike. Now Nike is very depends on how you perceive things, right? I don't perceive it like in that way. I mean, brothers, life is not just about halal, haram, and all this. As simple as that, right? So don't be told nitty-gritty thing. You just, oh, it's haram. I mean, you need to be careful in this, right? But this thing in regarding to our Rob,
Dr. Hilal.
the one, hold on first, the one who provides, right? The one who protects us, right? It must solely be from Allah. Okay, your question?
You know the hadith. There's a hadith in I think Abu Dawud.
Yes.
And it says that the Prophet of Allah ﷺ said that he who does not thank the people is not thankful to Allah. So how do we reconcile thanking people for the good that they bring to our lives, and then also knowing that we're thanking Allah at the very same time?
Okay.
Is there a way that we can take? Is there like some practical advice you can give us?
Very good question. But at the end, okay. First of all, it is from your heart, isn't it true? Right? Whether you truly believe that this doctor is the one who cures your illness, or it is Allah, isn't it true? Your heart only knows, right? If you truly think that of all the doctors, he's the one who is able to help me, and not giving this due to Allah, that has crossed the boundary of shirk, isn't it true?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Which is quite common, right? Because of course, of all these heart surgeons, this is the best one of all, right? And then you overpraise him, and then you invite him to dinner and all this because your heart, alhamdulillah, has cured. And it's in your heart how you perceive this person. Of course, you can always thank him by inviting him for dinner and all these kind of things, right? Thankfulness, of course, is always there. But in your heart, if you think that the heart is able to function now because of him, not because of Allah, then you have crossed the boundary of shirk, right? I mean, it's okay to, for example, right? People will thank me for helping in the Quran. Alhamdulillah, right? But I'll always be careful with myself, and I will say, well, it's everything from Allah. Right, my job, for example, when I do enjoining good, forbid evil, right? When I remind people about the truth and all this, I always say, well, I'm here just to remind. Everything is from Allah, the guidance, isn't it true?
Yes.
But if you believe that you are the one who is responsible for him and all this, and that itself has crossed the boundary of shirk, it's quite. Now you know about the in detail a little bit about shirk. It's quite. We need to be very careful, isn't it true? When we come to deal with shirk, it's not as simple as, oh, I believe Jesus is the Son of God. Okay, then I've committed shirk. It's not just about believing that I worship another person other than Allah. A lot of different things would consider to shirk, which we're going to discuss in detail after this, inshallah. Okay. Now, so if you look, I mean, okay, for example, right? Brothers, we are supposed to recite Al-Kahf today, weren't we? Everybody finish your Al-Kahf today?
I kind of did. I was with my mum reciting her.
Ayman, you finish Al-Kahf?
I was gonna do it after. I'm not even joking. I fully was.
I'm here to remind you, inshallah, right? Now, in the last verse of Al-Kahf, you know this, right? When you come across this last verse, everybody is so excited. Alhamdulillah, 110 verses finished. All right. In last verse, in the second part of the last verse, what did Allah say? فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. Right? And those who would be meeting with his Lord, right? Or those who hope for the meeting with his Lord, which is on the day of judgment, of course, right? Two things you must do, right? Work hard in terms of doing good righteous deeds, and ascribe none with Allah, associate none in the form of worship of his Lord. Two things, right? And this is quite important base for you and I. Allah, if you want to meet Allah, do these two things, right? And we also know about the rights of Allah. What is the rights of Allah? That we must not associate anything. Anything means anything. It's not just worship, It's about He's the one who protects me. He's the one who is going to guide me. He's the one who provides for me food, everything, right? And this is quite important, right? To understand this, right? In terms of how we define shirk, right? So this is the formal base. If you want to meet Allah, do good righteous deeds, no shirk. As simple as that, right? Now, in surah number 2, in verse number, is it 22? Right, Al-Baqarah 22, yeah. Allah said in the second part, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Right? They do not set up rivals unto Allah in worship while you know. Right? And this forms the basis of this huge topic in which, for whatever reasons, people are not abiding by it. I think because we're going to talk about the reasons, perhaps the knowledge. Brothers, can we say to Allah on the day of judgment, if, for example, if I'm punished because I over excessively thank somebody for providing for my children, right? What is my basis of my defense? Do I have any defense because of this? None, isn't it true? Right?
But Sheikh, why this issue that they're not raising the mosque? Like, if it's just so, I mean, it's a major issue. Why they never do any khutbah regarding this?
I think, okay, I think firstly, I'm not saying I'm so good, right? Alhamdulillah. But I think this is quite a dry topic, if you do not know to deal with, but tawheed, about shirk, it's quite a dry topic. So we need to be very current when dealing with it. But do you agree with the things that I say, right? So for example, right? Repairing a house, isn't it true? Right? I went to this builder, the house is a mess. Another builder make it worse. Then suddenly I found another builder, very honest man, right? Very honest Muslim, right? Came and patch up everything. Everything's well, right? And then I say to this person, wow, you did such an amazing job. Because of you, look at this, it's beautiful. I mean, it has caused some boundaries, isn't it true? Right? Yes, but if Allah do not give him the ability to move the hands, the eyes, the ears, he wouldn't be able to do all this, isn't it true? The fact that he can do all this is all from Allah, isn't it true? Do you agree?
So can we say that? Can we say that then the intention is very important, depending on the person?
Precisely, it is from the heart.
Yes.
Right?
So because if you're speaking to a non-Muslim, you can't really say Alhamdulillah in front of them.
But I would.
They don't really understand the terms of our religion.
I would say to my clients, right, especially when, let's say I've submitted the applications to Home Office, right, I would tell them, pray. Everything's from God. And I would say that, whether they are believer or not, I just say pray, everything's from God. I'm just here to help you. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that is quite important for me as a service provider, as for you, brothers, if you're providing service, whether it is in engineer, whether you are a nurse, whether you are a doctor, whether you're an architect. Don't tell me an architect, oh, you do this because of me, the building is so nice. I mean, that is a shirk, isn't it true? You yourself think that you are the one who created this.
Absolutely.
And this is a huge topic, and people are continuously misunderstanding this. If Allah do not give me the eyes, again, the ears, the ability the brains to think, right? Good health, right? How can I go to architect school in the university? How can I pass my exams? All this. Everything's from Allah. So don't think so highly of yourself. I'm the one who's responsible for this. I'm the one who did this. No, of course not. Right? Everything that you and I achieve, we have to attribute to Allah. And therefore, when we give a service to others, make sure you remind them, even though they're non-Muslim. I always tell my clients, right? Everything is from God. You just need to pray, right? And this is how I do my da'wah sometimes, right? I need to pray and all this. I'm just here to help you, right? It can be anybody else, right? And this is very important, brothers, to establish this fact, the intention, right? I'm just here because Allah is able to make me able to be a solicitor. Everything from Allah, right? And that itself. So you as a service provider, you must have this, and the person who's let's say is a Muslim, right, looking up at you for providing this service, must also have this ability to recognize everything is achieved only with Allah's will. Do you agree? Doesn't matter how amazing a solicitor I am, but if Allah wills this not to happen, it won't happen.
Exactly.
Right? And this is so important, yeah, that we understand this topic very well, because chances of people having this ability to commit shirk is quite a lot now, isn't it? Now you know about this, talking about shirk, right? So quickly, let me define before we talk about examples, because I do need to, because it's interesting to talk about examples, but I do need to establish the basic principles about shirk, right? So as I said just now, sorry, it's so hot here. The first category is about talking about Tawhid ar-Rububiyah. So opposite of Tawhid is Shirk, isn't it true, right? In terms of Rububiyah, the one who provides, the one who maintains, sustains, the one who protects, the guys, everything from Allah. If you think there's anybody else is doing this, then, or you associate something equivalent with Allah, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly, then you have committed this thing of shirk, right? Now, in this rububiyah, there are two things which you need to understand. One of them is called shirk at-ta'til, which means completely denying there is such thing as a Rob. Who is these people? Brothers. Who denies
Atheist.
God? Atheist, isn't it true?
Atheist.
The atheist, right? Which for me doesn't make sense, isn't it true? Do you think atheists actually exist? I don't think so. Because Allah has promised in the Quran, isn't it true? Which surah is this? That Allah said, am I not your Lord? Which surah is this? Brothers.
Does it include Musa?
Sorry? No, my question was, Allah did say, right? Am I not your Lord? Why? When did he say that? When he swept Adam alayhi's back, isn't it true? Right? Yep. And and when Allah said something, it is true. Right? He wouldn't lie to us, definitely not. So everybody has said, yes, you are my Lord. Which surah in the Quran, brothers?
Is it Ma'idah?
No, definitely not. Which surah? 7, right? In verse number 172, right? I'm just going to read through for you, right? 7172. And we have gone through this many times. And remember, this is quite, for me, this is one of the most important verses for you and I to understand about Rob, isn't it true? Right? That Allah, with his just, and he's so just and merciful, he did meet all of us. He has spoken to all of us, right? And he said in this chapter 7, verse number 172, right, in the meaning, and remember when your Lord brought forth from the children of Adam, from their loins, their seeds, and made them testify, yeah, as to themselves, am I not your Lord? Yeah. Alastu bi rabbikum, am I not your Lord? Right? And then they said, yes, yeah, we testify. Qalu bala. And Allah said, lest you should see on their resurrection, we have been made unaware of this. See, Allah is so fair, right? Because, right, He wouldn't ask us or tell us things in which it has never happened before. And for me, right, for this atheist to think that a baby is born like that and grow up perfectly in terms of the nose, and then in terms of the heart, in terms of the arms, and all this coming, and from nothing to this and grow into older. There's no one who did this other than so-called nature. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous, isn't it true?
Nature is Mother Nature.
Yes.
It's not a shirk.
There's another story, isn't it true? Right? And subhanallah, so this is something in which, how can this whole universe function? Everything has an owner, right? And so the arrogance of this atheist who thinks that there's no God is completely unfounded, right? So this is one of the most severe form of shirk, isn't it true? Right? So in terms of rububiyah, that means completely deny about this Rabb, right? The next one, it is to add on other laws besides Allah, or to distort this rububiyah. Yeah. So for example, to deny completely the names and attributes of Allah while affirming His existence, right? That means I talked about the one who provides, isn't it true? Right? Brothers, I mean, we have to understand this, right? The drinks that we have that in our fridge, the mineral water, everything comes from our Rabb, isn't it true? We cannot say that, well, this is my hard-earned cash, I use this money, that's why I bought this, right? And subhanAllah, to deny this itself, Ar-Razaq, right? Ar-Rahman and all this, right? It is a form of shirk. Okay. Next one is to substitute a false Rabb. For example, the Pharaoh said, right? What did he say? Yeah, Ana Rabbukumal A'la. I'm the Rabb, right? The Most High, right? The next one is to deny the reality of His separate and perfect existence, right? So that means you completely deny that that is such a person who is perfect and all this, right? And last one, adding matter, another Rabb besides Allah, like the Zoroastrian, right? Besides God, they got this fire, right? The Christians, they have this Trinity and all this. Okay, so this is Rububiyah, right? Brothers, even the Quraysh, right? Quraysh, you know that the Quraysh believe in Rububiyah, you know, right? Anybody who do not know this?
Shall we order?
The Quraysh, right? They believe that the idols that they worship would do nothing. They cannot create. They cannot provide for them. Nothing. They know it's Allah.
What about? Is that because they were doing it as a mediator or something?
Yes. So the problem with them is the uluhiyah side, the worship, right? So for me, right, the Quraysh are even better than some of the Muslims today, isn't it true? Some of the Muslims believe that their own sheikh and all this shuyukh has their own power to provide and to protect and all this. Okay. Now, so this is it, right? So this is the first kind of shirk in terms of Rabb, right? The second one is, of course, uluhiyah, as I mentioned just now, in that these people who commit shirk in terms of uluhiyah, they worship other than Allah, as Adam said, right? Brother Adam said that, oh, Allah is so high, right? I need to worship something else first and go to Allah, uluhiyah, right? This is where you have these grave worshippers. People go to the saints and all this. Now, brothers, always be careful, right? When you ask another person to make dua for you, right? Again, it's all from your heart. If you think that this amazing sheikh right, is the one in which only Allah will answer his dua, then something must be wrong with you, isn't it true? All right, that means you are saying that he can do many things, which is wrong, right? If you have this intention, well, he's going to Umrah in some parts of in Mecca and all this, the dua are more potent, yes, that is permissible. But if you think that this person, your imam, your sheikh, Allah is going to only answer his dua, that's completely wrong. Okay, so you have to be careful about this, about uluhiyah, right? That Allah, the Shirk, they exist in mankind in two primary ways. The first one, right, is that they worship Allah and other than Allah. So again, this is to come about Trinity, right? You worship Jesus and you worship God, and God, I don't know, another one, Holy Ghost, whatever it is, right? Confusing, right? The second part is that they worship other than Allah all the time. Yeah, that means some extreme sects, right? They make dua to other than Allah, like the Buddhists, right? They believe in the what and all this, and the Hindus and all this, right? So there are two kinds of shirk in terms of uluhiyah, in terms of worship, right? The next one is shirk in terms of as-sama wa sifat, Allah's names and attributes, right? In which, for example, these people are saying that Allah has the same attributes as a human being. So, well, like the Christians, right? When they changed the Bible, they said that, oh, God created the world in 6 days and he rested. Agreed? Where did Allah say in the Quran that Allah would never need to rest? Brothers?
Is it
where,
that?
where in the Quran did Allah refute this?
Ayat Kursi.
The Kursi, isn't it true? Right? Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. He doesn't slumber, nor would he rest, right? Wasi'an kursiyyu samawati wal ard, right? His kursi, or the stool, extends from the heavens and the earth. Wala ya'uduhu hifdhuhuma, and there's no fatigue in him to maintain all his creations. Wa huwa al-aliyyul azim. He is the all high, the all great, right? So that's why this is the most important verse in the Quran, isn't it? Ayat al-Kursi, right? To explain to you and I about Allah is so different from any of his creations, right? That's why in Surah Al-Ikhlas, right? In the last part, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. There's no equivalent to him. And we need to understand this, right? So this shirk in relation to as-sama wa sifat, yeah, is in relation to those who compares Allah to his creations, which is impossible, right? Another one is, of course, to compare the creation to Allah, which is common in extreme sects. For example, our Imam knows everything, right? Or our Imam knows the unseen. I'm sure you know some extreme Sufi sect and the Shia sect and all this. They have this, right? Imam knows everything. The unseen, he also knows, right? Our Imam hears our dua anywhere in the world. All right. So and this is not uncommon, brothers, right? There are people who believe that the Imams are able to do anything equivalent to Allah, and this itself, right, is constituting the shirk in terms of as-sama wa sifat, right? Allah's names and attributes. So this is the first category of shirk in terms of tawheed. So opposite of tawheed is shirk. Any questions? And we absolutely must understand this, right? The next one is categorization according to major and minor shirk, right? So, for example, so major shirk is, as we talked just now, right? That to give the creator the rights of the creator, right? Allah can do this. That means the person can do this, and this is a major shirk, right? In terms of worship, in terms of the Rabb and names and attributes, right? The minor shirk are those that, and the major shirk, sorry, will take the person out of the fold of Islam. That means literally he be kufur, right? So that means we cannot eat from the food, right? You cannot marry the children, that you cannot marry the wife, and you know, right? We as Muslims we can't marry mushrikeen and all this, right? Once you commit shirk, once you're out of the fold of Islam, that's it, right? Now, now the differences between shirk asghar, which is, and shirk akbar, right? Major and the minor and major shirk, right? Are we listening? Sorry, something happened.
Yes.
Something happened to my computer. Okay.
Yes, we're listening.
Now, first of all, shirk akbar takes a person out of the fold of Islam, as I said, right? So if a person dies in that state, you're finished, right? But shirk asghar, that means the minor shirk, does not take the person outside the fold of Islam, and it just shows the weakness of the iman, and is one of the signs of the hypocrite. Okay, so you technically will call the person to commit the shirk, minor shirk, as a Muslim, but the one who major shirk, not a Muslim. As simple as that, right? The major shirk necessitates a permanent residence in hellfire, right? And a minor shirk, it depends whether Allah wants to, they're in that state, right? Depends Allah wants to forgive him or not, right? And even if Allah do not forgive him, because he's still technically a Muslim, right? So he will be saved after a while. I'm not sure what a while means, how many thousands of years, but after a while, okay? The major shirk can never be forgiven by Allah until he accepts Islam again, right? A shirk asghar, right, as I said just now, is up to Allah whether he forgives the sin or not, and he just need to do the repentance, sincere repentance to Allah, right? A major shirk would destroy the good deeds, all the good deeds of the person, right? If I can remember this, I think in Surah number 39, right? Surah number 39, I think in verse number, let's look at 60 something, 39, hold on, yeah. I think 65, if I'm not mistaken. 65, yes. وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ وَلَتَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Right? Indeed, if it has been revealed to you, and it has revealed to those before you, if you join others in worship with Allah, then surely all your good deeds will be in vain, and you will certainly be among the losers. Right? Whereas a person who commits minor shirk, right, for example, like showing off, only that deed will be nullified, right? Whereas a person who committed a major shirk, everything else will be finished.
Mu'allim, what do you mean by what that one deed will be nullified?
Sorry?
So if someone is proud, what happens? Is it just
so
one sin?
If I were to go to the mosque, right, I pray, I show off, it's only that deed that is not, will be nullified, because I'm doing it to show off. And of course, I need to repent to Allah and all this, right? Whereas if I commit a major shirk, if I think that, Jesus, Son of God and all this, right? Everything else is finished, and I start from zero. Do you understand this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of difference between major and brothers. That doesn't mean that it's okay. It's minor shirk. It's not like that, right? In fact, minor shirk is the second worst sin ever. First one's of course major shirk, then minor shirk, then the rest, right? Because it is still shirk. Okay. Now, so a further explanation about this major shirk, right? This kind of shirk may sometimes be outward. That means you go to the grave, you worship the grave. It may be outward, or it may be hidden. Hidden means like the hypocrites, right? Are the hypocrites, will they all be in hellfire?
Yes.
Yes. So even outwardly, oh la ilaha illallah, outwardly they pray and all this, but it doesn't matter because inside is the most important, isn't it true? Right? Because Allah knows what's in our hearts, right? And they will be in the lowest level of hellfire according to Surah, I think number 4, verse number 145, right? That we will be in the lowest level of hellfire, right? So in terms of this hidden, right? The shirk may sometimes take the form of beliefs, right? So such as the belief that there is someone else who creates and gives lives and death, right? Who reigns and controls the affairs of the universe along with Allah. So other than Allah, something may make things happen, right? I mean, simple things like, even when people were small, right? I hate to say this, I'm one of those people who, I was in the choir, right? And there was we were singing all these Disney songs, right? And when you wish upon a star and all these kind of things, like, subhanallah, right? That means a star can make things happen. So you do be careful in this, right? If you think that the star will make things happen, then you would have committed this kind of major shirk, right? Or believe that there is someone else who must be obeyed absolutely besides Allah, so that they follow him in regarding as permissible or forbidden whatever he wants, even if that goes against the religion of the messengers. Parents, especially for those reverts, right? Whose imans and your iman is not strong, right? And I came across a few reverts like this, right? On the basis that, well, if I don't follow my parents, I'll be cut off from my will, right? That means I got no money to stay in this house. Simple, right? I'm not sure he's a believer now. And that was about 10 years ago, right? Subhanallah, right? Brothers, again, Ar-Razaq, who is providing? Allah, not the parents. So it's quite a simple scenario, right? I fear that I will be kicked out of the house. Therefore, whatever things my parents say, I will follow for now. This is shirk, isn't it true? Do you agree? And
while there's certain circumstances where it's allowed, like if you're under like a pressure.
Yes, only like certain circumstances, but in general, I'm just in general. I'm thinking about 2020, right? In London, right? Nobody's gonna kill you, right? This under pressure is I'm sure you're referring to those people whose life is under threat, isn't it true? Right? But I'm just talking about simple example about, which is quite common against some of the reverts, right? You face all these obstacles. Of course, may Allah continue to guide them and all this. But subhanallah, right? When they have been a Muslim for years and years and years and all this, right? You still have this kind of feeling that, well, it is my parents who will are responsible for my the house, right? For my upbringing, for my upkeeping, for my maintenance. And that itself is a shirk, isn't it true? Brothers?
Yes.
Yes. So you need to understand this, right? Because if you don't understand this, right, whether it's your parents, whether it's your boss, oh, my boss, right, he's the one who allowed me to get this job, right, £100,000 a year, right? Because of that, I'm able to have this nice house. My children is able to get all this good education in Eton, right? I'm able to support all these families because of my boss and all this. And because of that, right, I have to compromise my prayer. I cannot go to my Jummah and all this. So this itself is a form of shirk, isn't it true? And this is something which we have to be very careful. It is not the boss who provides us with the income. It is Allah. Right? So on the day of judgment, how can we explain to Allah why we are not able to pray on time and all this? Because of the boss? Because of the money that he provided us? Because we're not allowed to do so in this world? Because if not, we'll be sacked from our work. How can we provide this answer to Allah on the day of judgment, brothers? Right? We need to think very carefully. A worst thing, right? Some imams are telling you and I to do this. It's completely wrong, completely shirk, and you still follow. And this was in one verse of the Quran, right? Prophet said that the Jews and the Christians were taking the rabbis and the priests as their Lord. Then the companion said, no, they don't. Yes. And Muhammad said, yes, they did. Whatever things the rabbis and the priests said, they just follow without actually looking into the scriptures, or without looking properly into the whatever things that they have in the books and all this, right? They just follow. So even if the Muslims, brothers like you and I, right, because some of the things that I saw on YouTube and all this, right, completely shirk, and yet they just follow, right? And this is something on the day of judgment you cannot say, oh Allah, I didn't know I'm not supposed to dance in a circle and chant your name. I thought I'm just doing the good deed by chanting your name, dancing in a circle, because I was following the Imam. And that itself is contradictory to what Allah said in the Quran, isn't it true? To not follow the Imam, we have to follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, isn't it true? In terms of the hadith and all this. Brothers, we are not blind followers. We need to see the evidence. Because if not, right, if you play this game of Chinese whisper, as I said many times, right, if I go one round, right, in these Chinese whisper games, at the end of the round, the what I've whispered to that person is completely different, isn't it true? Because we don't check the evidence of this original source, which is the Quran and authentic hadith. Okay? Now, or they may associate others with Allah in love and veneration by loving a created being as they love Allah. This is the kind of shirk that Allah does not forgive, right? So even, I love my parents so much. I love my mom so much. But she said I shouldn't pray, I should only pray twice a day, 3 times a day, that's it. And because of my love for my mother, I follow what she said for now, right? And this itself is a form of major shirk, isn't it true? Right?
There was a hadith regarding that as well, isn't it, Shaykh?
Sorry?
There was a hadith, one of the companions that his mother told him something. She wasn't either. He has to reverse, not be in Islam again. He became Muslim, and then she wanted to out of Islam.
Yes.
Was there no hadith on that one?
I think she wanted to kill herself, right? After a while, she wanted to kill herself, right? And this person, I don't know whether it's the same hadith, right? And this person was saying, well, even if you kill yourself, mother, I don't care if you didn't kill yourself about 100 times, I still won't follow you, something like that, right? So this is completely different. I mean, it's the same what we are trying to say, of course, right? Because this is when the mother was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is what we're referring to this hadith, right? No, and I think she refused to eat for whatever reasons, right? Because she boycotted. She
became Muslim, like she doesn't want him to. She wanted him to take her back.
So she refused to eat, isn't it true? And she was about to die, right? And then this Sahaba said, well, even if 100 souls were to leave your body, I will still won't renounce Islam, something like that, right? This is a huge sacrifice, of course, that your love and my love for Allah must be more than anybody else, isn't it true? Right? So the next one, right, is on the belief that there are those who can, as I said just now, who knows the unseen. right? Who knows about the future, right? And so some of the deviant sects are like this, right? So all these kind of things, right, brothers, right, is a form of major shirk. Or another major shirk is in terms of action, right? That means, for example, right, right, if, right, I believe that, well, all right, we should have a gay marriage, right? Because it's, it's natural. Then I'm saying something like, well, what I think is more important than what Allah has delivered to us in the Quran, isn't it true? Right? So because of this, I'm trying to replace what Allah has ruled or His Sharia in the Quran. And that itself is a major shirk, isn't it, in terms of my actions? Right? I'm supporting this. I'm supporting this pride, right? Right? Because, well, the Quran is revealed in this 6th century, very what do you call it? Very barbaric and all this, right? And subhanallah. Sorry. So you have to be very careful, right? Hate to say this, in the Muslim MPs in the UK at this moment, all of them supported the gay marriage, isn't it true? And embarrassingly, even some of the Christian MPs, they were against it because of their belief, right? There's nothing wrong to uphold with a belief. Okay. So you have to really understand this. So this is the major shirk, right? Minor shirk is like, as I said, you are emotionally attached to Allah's creation, like the amulet, right? This is protect me. The eye, this will protect me, and this is a form of minor shirk, right? What is this people said with the hands of Fatima, is it? What's that? Do you know about this, brothers?
I never heard that before, Sheikh.
I've never heard of this, right? It's quite well. I heard it from a TV, the hands of Fatima. This is a signs of veneration and all this, right? So it's this form of shirk, right? So this is a minor shirk because they are still considered a Muslim, right? They do not fall for. So if somebody you see with an amulet, right? Somebody with a eye to protect them in the cups or in the plates and all this, they're still a Muslim, but they have committed minor shirk, right? And another one, as I said, right, venerating some people or things in a way that does not go so far as ascribing lordship to them, right? So that means if somebody say, if not for Allah, if not for Allah, if not for you, doctor, right, I will be well. I'll be dead by now, for example, right? That means you 100% you didn't ascribe everything to the doctor, but half. And that even is not allowed. Do you understand what I mean, brothers?
Yes, Sheikh.
Right. So you cannot even have half, 50-50. And that is a minor shirk. Right? So everything that happens in terms of my health, in terms of the money in my account, about the food in my fridge, about the roof that I have now, alhamdulillah, the light that is given to me by this lamp and all this, ability for me to communicate with you through this, right? Everything 100% is from Allah. Do you agree? And you must have this concept. And we, of course, as a human being, right? I learned myself. I put in effort to make sure that I can communicate with you, right? I need to work, put in effort, because if I don't work, how can I just make dua? Allah provide me with money, then I don't work. That doesn't work at all, right? If I'm sick, I need to go to the doctor, make sure that I had all my tests done, right? So that I can make it better, right? So I must make the effort to do things, but the end result, everything comes from Allah. right? Not even a single percentage must come from another person. And this is quite important to understand this concept of shirk, right? So if I love my mother so much, which is quite common, but that love must not be more than I love Allah, right? So if my mother was to tell me, oh, please wear this amulet if you love me, right? This will protect you, right? You won't have to worry after this, right? Wear this. Should I choose between my mother or Allah, right? And we need to know how to make this choice, right, brothers? So these are the things in which the love for Allah must be absolute, more than the love of anybody else. Right? Remember, brothers, on the day of judgment, your mother, your father, your grandmother won't be there to defend you. Who is there going to defend you? It is all you have to defend yourself. Isn't it true? Right? And something in which all of us must understand this concept completely. Okay? Now, so as I said just now, right? So minor shirk can take in the form of outward actions like wearing, something, amulet, right? I have this Quran, not for me to read, but to put on my bed. The Quran will protect me, and this is also a minor shirk, isn't it true? All right, actions, right? Or in the forms of the belief, right? The belief that this eye will protect me. Right, and also in the form of words, right, saying that as I said just now, right, this because of you, right, and Allah, right? So you have this 50-50 reliance, yeah, on them to help you, right?
Yep.
Because brothers, you have to understand, right? If Allah will, let's say I have cancer, right? Whatever it is, right? If Allah wills the cancer to disappear, it will disappear, right? Through this doctor, through this, but everything else, it is from Allah, right? I'm sure you heard of stories of how the doctor said, "Oh, you only have 2 weeks to live. Right? You only have 4 weeks to live. Say goodbyes to your families." These people have been surviving for 4 or 5 years, still alive now. It's not from the doctor to say this, right? Of course, he got a duty to just warn them, right? That, well, it's getting serious now. Anything can happen, right? Right? But to say this only 2 weeks, 3 weeks left and all this, and you believe in it and all this, you have to be careful because everything comes from Allah. That's why in Islam, we are not allowed to have this, what's the word that you end somebody's life? Euthanasia, isn't it?
Euthanasia.
Yeah, euthanasia. Yeah. You're not allowed to have this, right? Because to take the life of somebody and to bring life, everything comes from Allah, not from any human being.
Right?
But of course, that there are things that you may decide, and I think for me personally, it is allowed because do not resuscitate, for example, because, well, you do not want your old parents who are 80 years old, 90 years to suffer more. Do you agree what I mean? Right? Or to bring them home because, well, there's nothing much doctors can do. I mean, it's fine. Okay, sorry, question?
Yeah, Shirk, I had a question. So, if the doctor says you have like 2 weeks to live and
Yes.
you don't necessarily believe him, but you sort of prepare with your goodbyes.
Yes, of course. You can prepare, of course, right?
Okay.
But you still, I think you have to use your own discretion, right? If this is what I said, but I'm sure you heard about do not resuscitate, isn't it true? Right? There's a sign that means if anything happened to your parents, do not resuscitate. Well, they have been suffering, he or she has been suffering for so many years of cancer and all this, and that's it. Just let it go, right? You do not need to because sometimes they put this tube here, tube there, and all this. It makes things even worse. Okay, so in a sense that as I said just now, you can also bring them back when the doctor says, well, there's nothing much you can do, just bring them back and all this, right? In order for them to have a peaceful and death at your side to remind them of the La ilaha illallah and all this. Okay. Now, the minor shirk can also take in form of actions, as I said just now. Subhanallah, right? Have you been to these exhibitions where they have the Prophet's hair, Prophets, don't know what it is. Have you been to these exhibitions? Anybody?
No.
It's like a, celebrity coming and people are, wanting to touch, then always as if there's a barakah touching the Prophet's hair. If it's true, I do not know, right? Prophet's hair, I don't know, the nails and the comb, whatever it is, right? There is a group of people, organizations who have all these exhibitions all around the world. And this is the Prophet's hair, this Prophet's. Subhanallah.
How do they obtain that? That's what I want to know.
Precisely. And secondly, is it important for us to have this rather than follow his ways? Right? People are so obsessed. Oh, I want to have this, touch their hair, touch this, touch that, so that I can get the blessing.
Don't have a barakah from it.
Barakah, that's it. Blessings are what? Right? So we have to be very careful in this. And this is, of course, is a minor shirk. Right? It doesn't make you out of the fold of Islam, but it is still, having all these actions that are, having these actions that committing this shirk. For example, I'm sure, Adam, you would see people doing Umrah, right? And some parts of Kaaba, they will wipe the topi, wipe the prayer mat. This is blessings, barakah, right? When there is rain. Sorry? Yeah. So, when there's rain, and I saw in front of my own eyes, brothers, rain, right? A lot of water on the ground. They scoop the water, put in a bottle, and they want to use the water and thinking that it's a lot of barakah in it, right? So you have to be very careful in this.
Is it shirk? Like sometimes I don't know this. Well, I don't know about your community, but my community believe like they bring some people to their house to read the Quran and then to do a tahleel or something like in the bottle.
Yeah.
Or like read the Quran, verse of the Quran and then just they spit on it, or close bottle. They just close bottle. They do it on the top of the bottle. I say, how does that make sense? The bottle is closed anyway.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, I never experienced that. Alhamdulillah. Is it a Somalian culture?
Yeah, because they, like they say, oh, my child is sick, all this. They bring like few shirk or few friends in the house who knows how to read the Quran, and then they do it.
Yeah. Well, may Allah guide everybody. Now, this is so important to note this verse, brothers, right? In Surah number 14, verse number 35, right? Wajnubni wa baniya an na'budal asnam. Ibrahim alayhi salam make a dua to Allah, right? Keep me and my sons away from worshipping idols. Can you imagine? Allah's intimate friend making dua to Allah to protect them from committing shirk. Surah number 14, verse number 35. And what about you and I? Right? How can our status be comparable to Ibrahim alayhi salam? And yet Ibrahim alayhi salam make dua to Allah, right? To protect him and his sons from worshipping idols. And this is, for me, when I look at this, it's quite scary because even the Prophet is so scared of worshipping idols. Well, what about you and I? Because we think that shirk means worshipping Jesus, Son of God. That's it. So many layers that we have to be careful about. Okay? Now, lastly, right, brothers? So how do we protect ourselves from committing shirk? Firstly,
knowledge, gaining knowledge of what.
Yes. So we have to seek knowledge, right? We have to really understand, as what we discussed for the whole, at least 1 hour plus, right? About what we discussed, right? Because if you don't have knowledge, it's so easy to fall into the... Now, brothers, honestly, if I were to ask you now, right? And I'm sure you may have heard this before, right? It's quite easy to fall into shirk, isn't it true?
Yeah.
It's so easy. If you don't, we're not careful with this, right? That is why a lot of people will have problems on the day of judgment, right? And as I said, it's no excuse that we say to Allah, "Oh Allah, I didn't know that I shouldn't excessively thank my imams and my doctor and all this and my builders and all this. I didn't know." Subhanallah. That is why, brothers, if we know what is Tawheed in great detail, not just oneness of God, but in great detail, then inshallah, shirk will be avoided. Isn't it true? It goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand completely, right? So it's a very important topic about Tawheed and Shirk, right? So seeking knowledge is very important, the first thing. Secondly, how to protect yourself from
following the crowd.
Before that,
following the crowd.
Let's talk about the major things. Guidance, right? Yes. Guidance from Allah, right? You need completely to seek Allah's guidance at all times, right? Thirdly, taqwa, right? If you have taqwa, Allah will grant you furqan. Furqan means to differentiate between truth and falsehood, shirk and non-shirk, right? Where is this verse again? If you have taqwa to Allah,
829.
Allah will grant furqan. Yes, 829. Now, because alhamdulillah, we kept on repeating again and again, we will remember, right? And it's quite important. If you have taqwa to Allah, you're conscious of Allah all the time, that Allah will grant you this ability to differentiate the truth and the falsehood, or furqan, as we call it. The next one, brothers, salah. Which ayah did, when I repeated it so many times. Inna salata tanha anil fahshi wal munkar. The prayer will prevent fahisha, immorality, and munkar, or any forms of disobedience to Allah. Why did Allah say this? 29 in verse number 45. Right? And again, coming back to salah, right? It also in relation to guidance, right? Because you say, Ihdina siratal mustaqim. And you continue, right? Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Which is a straight way. The way of those whom you have bestowed your favors. Who are these people, brothers? Who did Allah bestow his favors upon? Brothers. Who did Allah bestow his favors upon?
Is it not Muslims?
No. It's not about Muhammad and Ahmad and all this, right? It's about the higher ranking kind of believers, right? Where did Allah say this? Who are these? And we discussed many times, brothers. Where did Allah say this? Who are the people whom Allah bestowed his favors? Right? If we turn to Surah number 4 in verse number 69, right? And we discussed this a few times. Isn't it true, Adam?
Yes, Sheikh.
Right? Now, وَمَا يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ. Right? And those who obey Allah and his messenger, then they will be in the company of those whom Allah bestowed his favors or his grace. What is people? Right? Minan nabiyyin, right? The prophets. Yeah. Wasiddiqin, right? The truthful ones. Washuhada, the martyrs. Wasalihin, the righteous ones. Right? Wahasuna ulaika rafiqa. And how excellent these companions are. Right? So you ask Allah to guide us. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Which way is the straight way? The way of those whom you bestow your grace. These are the people, the 4 groups of people. And Allah added the last bit, right? Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Not the path that has earned your anger. What is people?
Jews and the Christians, isn't it?
Jews.
The Jews. Allah was angry with them.
The
Waladdallin. Not the path whom you have led astray. The Christians. Right? So in the sense that it's quite specific, isn't it? If you know the meaning of Al-Fatiha itself, right? It covers a lot of things. Guidance, not just guidance. These people, the 4 groups of people, not this way or not that way, not the Jews and the Christians. And this is very important, right? To understand this, the Salah, right? Now, the next thing that we need to understand is control our intention. Yeah, control our intention. Right? Is it easy to control intention, brothers?
No.
I think it's very difficult, right? Especially now with social media, isn't it true? Right? You want to show in your Instagram where you went. I went to Umrah, right? Right? I went to do this. So, and this is quite important that to really control it. Everybody has a different degree of sincerity or ikhlas in the acts of worship, right? If you know that you have this propensity or this inclination to, well, show off and all this, right? Then stop posting things on social media. Because when you show off the deeds, it's a form of minor shirk, isn't it true? Right? The worst thing, brothers, you spend so much money in your Hajj, in your Umrah, right? So much time and effort and sacrifice and all this, and yet everything will be not accepted. Right? Remember?
Also, it's your time. It's your time as well, isn't it? You're wasting a lot of time in terms
Yes,
of worship.
exactly. Right. Remember the Hajj. What is the reward of Hajj? What is the reward of Hajj?
Clean slate.
For
Clean slate.
Sorry?
Major and minor.
Forgiveness of sins, isn't it true? Forgiveness of sins. And you come out like a baby. Is it for every of the pilgrims?
Only the ones that are accepted.
Yes, Hajj Mabrur. Right? A Hajj which is accepted by Allah. It's very difficult. If you haven't been to Hajj or Umrah, inshallah, may Allah invite you. I think next year we might plan a trip to Umrah, inshallah, right? And to the Masjid Al-Aqsa, inshallah, in Palestine. Do join us if you're interested. But it is difficult, right? And that's why you need to make.
How long is the trip?
To accept your deeds. Sorry?
How long would the trip be?
About 15 days, inshallah. Okay? Now, the next one. Do not praise others excessively. Right? Because when I praise you, you praise me, then next time I want to do things, then I want to do it for the praise. Isn't it true? Right? Even there is a dua if somebody praises you. Isn't it? What is a dua?
Your ego kicks in, Sheikh. That's what it is.
Sorry? Yeah, the ego is you're big-headed, isn't it true? Right? What is the dua that when you are praised? What should we say?
I don't know in Arab, but is it the one that you say, "Oh Allah, make me better of what they think of me," and
yeah, is oh Allah, yeah, forgive them for what they didn't know, for what they do not know, and make me better than what they say. Right? So this is in the fortress of the Muslim, right? But as a rule of thumb,
what is that in Arabic?
Sorry?
What is that in Arabic, please? The dua that you just said.
I will post it to you, inshallah. I'm not sure myself, right?
All right.
Nobody praised me, alhamdulillah, so I don't need to say it.
Maybe not in front of you, but definitely behind your back.
But honestly, I know I would say, I do not know, but I will post it, inshallah, right? But as a rule of thumb, to prevent all this, right? I think you can motivate others. Oh, alhamdulillah, you're doing such a good things, right? And of course, always say alhamdulillah, right? But don't look at you are in the mosque all the time, you are this, you are that, and all this, right? So much that then the next thing that you want, then you want to do for others. I mean, that's why sometimes, but let me be honest with you, right? I'm so glad that nobody's except one brother who lives around my area, right? Because when I go in the morning, right, to the prayer, alhamdulillah, usually before the lockdown, right, go to the mosque in the morning. I mean, there's about 2-3 mosques here. I don't have this pressure because sometimes when you don't see me in the morning, you woke up late, right? you or something like that. You know what I mean, right? I don't have
That's not-
anything, right? So, so there might be this. I say there might, but there might not. But there might be this thing. Oh, I go to the mosque because he's there. If he didn't see me there, then he knows I woke up late. Something like that, you know, right? So I'm so glad that nobody knows about my whereabouts at night, whether I go to the mosque in Aisha or Maghrib and all this, right? So there's nothing to prove to anybody, right? But imagine if you are in a place in which you always see this brother and all these kind of things, and that in the morning, especially in summer, it's quite difficult. Fajr is about 2:49, right? Difficult to wake up and all this. Then you may fall into these things of, oh, I want to do it, go to the mosque because of somebody. Isn't it true? As a human being, right? We are not perfect, of course, right? So there is this inclination, right, to go to be seen and all this. Okay. Now the next one, right? Do not follow culture if the culture is against Islam. As I said just now, sometimes in marriage in Indonesia, Malaysia, a lot of Hindu cultures are mixed in the marriage ceremony. You step on this, you step on that, you eat something for good luck, whatever it is, right? Complete shirk. You have to avoid all this. Okay. The next one, enjoin good and forbid evil. Brothers, you and I have a duty in this life, isn't it true? What? Wal takum minkum ummatun yad'una ila al-khair wa ya'muruna bil ma'ruf wa yanhauna 'anil munkar wa ulaika humul muflihun. In surah number 3, verse number 104, right? Allah said, let there be among you a group of people enjoining what is right, forbidding what is evil, and it is they who are the successful ones, right? Again, we talked last time so many times that we are the best nations. Why? Because we enjoin good and forbid evil, and we believe in Allah. So if you see somebody, right, wearing an amulet, wearing we call it have an eye and all this in the back and whatever it is, you need to tell them. Isn't it true? Do you agree?
Yes.
You should. Okay,
Yes.
it is our duty for you and I to do this. If you don't do this and nobody is doing this, what's going to happen to you and me?
Yeah, part of it, isn't it, Sheikh?
Sorry?
Forbidden good and telling.
Yes. What's going to happen to us?
You'll be punished.
Two things, right? Two things. Firstly,
led astray.
Our dua will not be answered in authentic hadith. Secondly, we always give the example about these people on a boat, isn't it true? The two levels, right? The person on the people at the lower level or lower deck, right? Whenever they want water, they must always ask the people from the upper deck, right? Every time. So one day they're very tired, so tired to go. Every time we must ask people on top. Why don't we be so smart? Why don't we drill a hole, right? If we drill a hole, then the water can come in and can easily drink from the water.
But they drown in it though. They will drown in it though. That doesn't make sense.
So if the people from the top do not stop the people from the bottom from doing this, what happened? They would drown. Everybody would drown, isn't it true? Why, brothers, why do you think that we have this COVID-19? Right? For me, as I said many times, for me, it's a punishment for you and I. I mean, we have taken the mosque for granted, right? We have taken Islam for granted. Now, even Hajj is cancelled, isn't it true? Hajj visa is cancelled, right? And nobody is allowed to pray in the mosque and all this. SubhanAllah, it's very sad, of course, right? But it's up to you and I to, inshallah, take this COVID-19 pandemic as a reminder, right, to improve ourselves, inshallah. Okay? Now, the next one, be careful of our companions, right? The companions who will tell you, oh, right, you need to thank him, thank her, in order to, to excessively thank people, right? To wear this, to put this amulet in the house or in the, to protect you and all this. So companions are the one that may influence the decision whether you are committing shirk or not, right? Next one, remember death may be imminent. right? And if you have knowledge, if you die in a state of shirk, that's it, isn't it true? Which verse in the Quran did Allah say Allah will forgive anything else except shirk? Which verse did Allah say that?
Is it Nisa?
Yes, good.
34.
No. Is it Akram?
Yeah. Is it maybe 40 something?
Yes, 40 what?
43.
48.
Okay.
Right? And repeated almost similar verse in 116, right? So let's look in 116, for example, right? So 4 verse number 116. Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bihi wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha wa man yushrik billahi faqad dhalla dhalalan ba'ida. Verily Allah do not forgive setting up partners with him, but he forgives those whom he wills sins other than that, and whosoever sets up partner in worship with Allah has indeed strayed far away. Right? So for me personally, whether it's minor or major shirk, that's it. If you're there in that state, you will be punished. It's either you are punished forever or you'll be saved, because minor shirk, right, is not won't be permanently placed in hellfire. Okay. Now, so do remember, death is imminent. It might be tomorrow, might be the next hour, next minute. We do not know. Right. The next one, constant repentance. Right? And constant dua to Allah. Right? Which dua is the best dua for this? For asking Allah to avoid us or to prevent us from committing shirk, forgive us from things which we do not know about.
Allahumma inna naduka bika nushrika bika shana la mustaghfiruka lima la nalamu.
Alhamdulillah. Right? Is it Jamal?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, right. Or yours is in the singular form, right? Plural form, which I memorized, is Allahumma inna na'udhu bika an nushrika bika shay'an na'lamu wa nastaghfiruka lima la na'lamu. Right? Oh Allah, Allahumma a'udhu bika. Sorry, one more time. Oh Allah. I seek your protection from committing shirk knowingly with you. Yeah. And I seek forgiveness from things which I do not know about. It covers everything, isn't it true? Both minor and major shirk, isn't it true? Brothers, minor shirk is so subtle, it's like an ant walking there, that you don't even notice about the ants. Right? Or another example in the hadith is a black ant on a dark rock, on a black rock on a pitch dark night. It's so subtle. Right? Because as I said just now, when I'm praising my builder for this, oh, amazing, you did a good job, thank you so much, because of you, my house is so nice, then itself, it's quite subtle, isn't it true? I'm thanking him, but forgetting that everything else happens with Allah's will, isn't it true? If Allah wills it to happen, this might be another cowboy builder, isn't it true? Right? But Allah allowed it to happen, that the house become nice again and all this. It's because of Allah. Okay. Any questions?
Ustad, could you put that dua in the group, please?
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Right. Is it this topic very useful? Inshallah.
Yes.
Yeah, very useful.
Right. It's quite an eye opener, isn't it true? Right. That we don't realize that sometimes when we do things, it might be a form of shirk.
Well, Sheikh, what about the people who feels that they're possessed with jinn, and then they cook food, and then they go outside, and and then they don't eat, and then you can't eat it until they taste it first.
Yeah.
Is that also shirk, isn't it?
It is, of course. And again, this is all boils down to tawheed, isn't it true? Right? Yeah. If we know tawheed, everything else will be arranged nicely by Allah, right? But if tawheed is lacking,
the reason I raised was because my auntie grandmother used to do that. May Allah forgive her now, because she's passed away. She used to get the eggs outside, and we used to steal the egg. And she said the jinn has eaten the eggs, and
yeah.
Well, Sheikh, isn't that culture though? That's culture, isn't it, Sheikh?
Yeah, but when culture, as I said just now, right? If culture causes one to compromise Islam, as in this shirk and all this.
Yeah, it's a shirk though. She used to be sister. She used to say that she was by jinn and all that.
Culture,
She
that
used to cook
practice
for the
must be
jinns.
eliminated, isn't it true? Right?
Yeah.
So you have to be careful in this, right? Is it Abu Dawud?
No.
Egypt, right? Very famous, isn't it true?
Yes.
Some of the things that have you witnessed any? Because you're in Egypt now, right? So what are the things that have you seen any acts of shirk in front of you?
I haven't seen anything because of the lockdown, but
okay.
I did say that there is some going on.
Yeah, it is quite common. I mean, Egypt is one of the, if not the first country. I remember I went back for my first Hajj. We went to Cairo for about 3 or 4 days in 2003, if I'm not mistaken, right? The first time I've seen how people were making dua and were worshipping the grave and all this, it's in Egypt, right? In front of my own eyes. It's quite sad. A lot of things happening there. So you do have to be careful in that place, in a Muslim country, right?
When I went to Nigeria, I saw a very interesting example of shirk, which is so I went to the Muslim region in the north, which is Kano, and I went for like a tourist tour of the palace.
Yeah.
And then we got to a place where this man is like, oh, this is where they bury the charms to protect the palace. And it means that nobody can knock down the palace as a result of the charms that have been buried there. So there were things like that. And the rulers were Muslims as well. So.
Yeah. Subhanallah. Another thing which I forgot to mention, right? Brothers, do be careful, especially in some cultures or in some of the religious groups that they kiss the thing, the sheikh's hands, right? And some of them, they bow down to they kiss the parents' feet, isn't it true? Right?
Yeah.
The Maulana.
Some cultures, and of course, in Maulana, they do that, right? And all this is not allowed in Islam, isn't it true? And yet, you see, I'm sure you saw some of the YouTube videos, the Maulana just happily let the people kiss their hands and all this, you know what I mean? and you have to be very careful in this. Right.
Yeah, but even this one they go back home in Hilal. They go to outside of the Mogadishu, and then they go to this Maulana. He's behind the veil. They pay him money. They make dua for them. They stay there for a few nights and all this.
Yeah.
And I said, it's an Islamic country. What does it doesn't make
what does your mufti do in terms of this, right? To prevent this from happening. At the end of the day, brothers, the mufti what does a mufti means?
Well,
someone who provides fatwa.
Yeah, mufti is that leader in the country that is in charge of the Islamic
ruling and all that.
Affairs in terms of and everything, right? If this is then prevented, then the mufti is responsible on the day of judgment, isn't it true? Do you agree? Right, like in Egypt, right? You guys have all this Sharm el-Sheikh and all this kind of things, isn't it true?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm telling you, right? Right? All this hurgada, all this alcohol, and all this kind of thing. In Malaysia, they have this place near the mountains where they have all these gambling and all this, right? Indonesia, there's this place. It's quite well known. People come from Middle East, they get a second work temporary right and all these kind of things, right? So all these things are happening, right? Under the radar of the Muslim, the Mufti, of course. So do be careful. I mean, it's not easy to control the Muslim affairs of your country, right? But accountability definitely with them regarding the affairs of the Muslims, right? Now, any last question?
But you have to understand, Sheikh, sorry to stop you, but you have to understand, obviously, in Egypt, they do have one of the highest sects of different denominations in terms of Islam as well. Remember, I sent you that video of the Sufism. There's a lot of Sufism over here as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different centers of. That's why anytime you meet anybody in Egypt, they always ask you what man had are you? I just say, I'm just a Muslim. So they want to know basically where you're coming from and what your beliefs or ideology is as well. So it's whether to like you or dislike you. So you got to be careful on who you tell what you follow. Well, so that's one experience.
Okay. Brothers, Jazakumullah khair. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow. Topic is about what lessons to be learned at 3 o'clock, right? From the conversation, first conversation of between Allah and Musa alayhi salam, right? With tomorrow 3 o'clock on YouTube, right? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our deeds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, you and I, from committing shirk, either knowingly or unknowingly. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us, from our past misdeeds, our even if it boils down to committing shirk unknowingly or knowingly. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us good health and protect us from all these COVID-19 pandemics. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you and I and family members Jannatul Firdaus. Subhanallah Allahumma wa bihamdika, la ilaha illa anta, wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun alal mursalin, walhamdulillahi alamin. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah?
Inshallah.